Hi, everyone listening to us or watching us. This is the podcast Let's Talk, and you are with me, Gayatri. I'll be the host for the day. And I am an Azure cloud engineer, and with me, I have one of my friends who has gracefully agreed to do this podcast with me, Devashri. So, what is this podcast about? Before we take and introduce you to our guest, this podcast is generally people discussing topics and perhaps helping the listener to know that they're not alone in their journey. And somehow, this podcast would help you navigate through your journey. That's the entire intent. Without further ado, Devashri, over to you. Thank you so much for joining us today. And yeah,
Yeah. Hey, hi Gayatri. Thank you for inviting me. A quick introduction to myself. I am Devashri, based in Bangalore, and I work in IT. I have close to 15 years of experience in IT. I've also, moving cities. I've been moving cities, moving places. Yeah, I think that's to it. I don't want to add too much.
that's okay. You can add.
Right.
We have all the time in the world. It's just a But nevertheless, thank you so much, Devashri, once again, and we'll start. So, the topic for the day was to discuss the happening K drama, right? Now, I think the fever has reduced, but just a month back, when life gives you tangerines, it was all over the place. Instagram, wherever you open, YouTube Shorts, and it was like converted into many languages, Hindi, Tamil, all the regional languages in India. And it was funny to see that. But it's
Yeah.
also amusing to see that the reach is so high, right? For that
Yeah,
series.
I think this is one of the most top rated K-dramas,
Hmm.
and I think it has a reason to it because um it's one of kind.
Correct.
Usually there is a lot of um a single agenda
Hmm.
web series that comes up, but this has lots of point of views, and this has a different case study in itself. Also, in the past, I've seen that a lot of things, usually a lot of good content
Hmm.
usually comes from picturizing a book or something, but I
Hmm.
think this was one of
Different thing.
the
Yeah.
yeah, one of the unique web series that I watched,
Hmm.
which essentially is original
Hmm.
and has no background to it, still has so many layers
Yeah.
in each
Layers. Yes.
episode.
And I
So
saw one of the, I think the after the production of, I, what do you call it when you sell the web series to the audience? Production? To the audience. Production?
yeah,
They do that production videos in YouTube just so that people know the series and they go and watch the series. In that, the director was there and he made a, and you will not believe if you watch that video, if I get a hold of it, I'll
mm,
paste it here. You will not believe that he is the director. He looks so
oh
normal, like one of us, right? And then he says, this is
yeah,
just a normal story which I wanted to show. It's a normal story with an extraordinary, depiction of characters that it
yeah,
so
I
that
think
is the reason why this hit that the reason what he was trying to tell us why did it associate with so many people because it was a normal family
yeah.
story and that is how it he says that this is the reason why it connected with so many people from different regions of the world, not only South Korea, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
No, I think one reason is obviously that people expect too much drama in drama, but this came from a very regular family, regular
Yeah.
household.
Yeah.
That's one. And I think how the characters have evolved in the story,
Correct.
so
Correct.
basically you can associate with each time frame.
Yeah.
As a mother, you can see it. As a
Yeah.
a person who is in midlife crisis, you see it. And
Yeah.
then as an adult or a old
Yeah.
person who's aging, you can
Yeah.
actually characterize and
Associate.
visualize
Very
and
true.
associate.
Very true.
So even when I saw this series, I could immediately relate with the young
Mm.
star cast, and then moving ahead into their midlife crisis. And I was
Yeah.
like, you know what, um when they grow old and everything, so you can
Mm.
actually see a future that maybe you don't generally see your
Mm.
life being portrayed in the reverse direction. So
Mm.
basically, it also gives the idea that it's
Oh,
all good
that
if it
is
ends well. So
such a nice perspective, right? Because usually in Indian cinema, so we are all from India, right? Both of us. Uh, in Indian cinema, it is just that the story ends after the hero and heroine meets. That's it. They live happily ever after. Nothing is shown beyond that.
yeah,
What happens
yeah,
after that? That's the actual struggle, right? But here they depicted the entire struggle of it, the struggle of raising a family. I mean, they didn't depict it as a struggle as such. They showed it so beautifully how the
I
characters
think.
navigated through those problems and then came out, transitioned, right? That was such a it's a refreshing thing. This was the same thing which I was talking with Megha, right, in our previous
Mhm.
episode, that it's so nice to see something so different from the
Yeah.
actual from the usual fantasy things which is displayed in our uh, dramas or series. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it also adds a tinge of hope to,
Yes.
to the fact that it's not always, I think somebody just mentioned a couple of days back to me that, there's no right or wrong decision. There are
Yes.
consequences to each decision,
Yes.
and then your life plays forward based on, what you've thought. For
What you've
example,
chosen.
in
Yeah.
this web series,
Mm-hmm.
right, if you see um the young, when they're kids, right, both of them,
Mm-hmm.
it's not that care or love or whatever was not brought to, but the rejection she had for it, right? She was
Yeah.
like outrightly, like, she was so bothered with it, that why do you care for me, why do you love
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
so much? Like,
Yeah.
she was just trying to in some shape or form, throw it
Throw
away
it away.
of
Yes.
throw
Yes.
it away from her
Yeah.
life, and essentially did it till
Mm.
it all turned back. Like, she never thought that she would live in a country space, or
Yeah. Yeah.
countryside.
Yeah.
Anytime she had huge plans to move to Seoul, and
Yeah. Mm.
go about their life,
Mm.
but didn't turn out that way. And I think it's just a way to see is that life goes on, life
Yeah.
continues, and and then when you look back, everything happened for the best, so
Yeah.
you can't
Yeah.
really fault it. So
There is this scene, right, where the other uh, so Asun had another prospect groom coming to her, and then eventually
hmm
she chooses the hero. And
hmm
after few years, the actual wife of the other person, right, she comes and she says, "Why did you choose not choose him? And now I am with this pile of crap." Why
yeah, I
you
know.
have very intelligently chosen your husband, and I wish I had someone. So it's just like the decisions you make. We're coming back to that same point. Nothing is right or wrong. It is the decision you make and how you live with it, right? So
Yeah.
fairly projected in that series. And now that I look back, that is so true. Like there is no, in fact, I feel as people, there's no uh, not people, I would say in any situation in life, it's not like you made the good decision or this is right and this is what you should do according to cultural norms.
Yeah.
Nothing like it. It is like
Yeah.
whatever you do or you feel at that moment, right? And then you
Yeah.
just live with that decision. Now coming
Yeah.
back to the series,
Not
right,
not
which
only, see,
yeah.
we have always been, I'll just take a moment there, because we have always been said that if you take a decision, you take a decision, and you
Yes.
stick to it, right? There
Yeah.
has been very less liberty given to going back on your decision.
Yeah.
In this case, she did. So she
Yes.
changed her decision, she went back on her decision, she made
She
another
again came
decision.
back. Yeah.
So
Oh,
so
that is so nice,
that
Devashri.
is,
Yeah.
there is a liberty for her to change her decision. Like,
Yes.
fine, I chose the wrong path, I explored it, it's not working for me, let me get back. And
Get back.
there is
Yeah.
no judgment there.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
she just went ahead.
Yeah.
If it took her longer to understand that this is the right decision, then
Yeah.
so it be.
Yeah. Oh,
So
that is nice. Yes, in the first episode itself, that is depicted how she goes back and forth, and still
yeah,
she comes back. And that's how that male character is also built up. That even though she goes and back, comes back, the male character is just there, is always there. Like, even
Yeah.
if you come back, if you don't come back, I am still going to be there for you. I'm going to love you, which is so resounding in this time and age, right? That sometimes there are people whom you meet who will always be there for you, irrespective of how much you change, how much you evolve. If you have that core quality of care, that's going to be there forever. That relationship is going to be there forever. Now, which
Yeah.
was the episode which you liked the most? Like, if you now look
Oh,
back, but
there
choose
were
one,
so
choose one.
many.
I'll tell you which I like. Choose one. Okay,
I
that's it. I'll tell you what I
have
like, right? Maybe that'll help
yeah.
you. So I like that Midsummer Night's Dream, that episode where it
Okay.
is just spring and summer, and she has three kids, right? And
Hmm.
Yang Wan Singh gets a lot of what do you call it, fish from the sea during that season,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the family is so happy after a long time. They're just happy.
Yeah.
And in
Yeah.
that one scene, towards the end, right, he paints his boat. He loses
Hmm.
the job, and then his family, the heroines or the Asun's family, right, that
Hmm.
family helps him get a boat. The
Yeah.
grandmother helps him get a boat, and then he's painting the boat. And then this scene where he says, "Come and paint the boat. You are more educated than me. Come and write it." Then she says, "No, no, no.
Yeah.
If women enter the boat, it is
It's not
considered a
considered.
bad omen, and I will not."
Yeah.
And then the daughter, Gumyong, she enters the boat because her father calls, and then this line which comes up, and Asun says that, or Gumyong says, "My mother, even though she was very, you know, what do you call it, superstitious, but she didn't allow that superstition to come to me. She allowed me to enter." And then later she also comes and she writes, but that um, that quality of not
I think
having, or not, trusting your opinion on your daughter or on your child, letting them
yeah.
live, that's a supreme quality, right? And it
I
takes
think
years.
that is why
Mm.
it took me so long to, feel that or let you know that, which scene
Yeah,
I
I know.
liked the best
Yeah.
because I think this entire web series, if it hits back or, if it says one thing in like bold italics for me,
Mm,
is that how can your small decisions,
mm,
right? When you make small decisions, can actually release the next generation of the generational burden that's coming in, right?
oh God.
So you start from initially, right?
Yeah.
When Isun is young,
Mm.
her mother decides that she will not go deep diving. Like
Yes.
that
Yes.
was her power, right?
Yes.
She was like all of her friends and everybody would say, why don't you teach her? And
Mm,
why don't you do that? So she broke that barrier there, though, that no, my kid would study. She even went to the, she
mm,
fought for her, that
yeah.
she went to the school and she was like, what do you want, wearing all her,
Yeah.
decked
Best clothes
up, and she
possible.
wanted
Yeah.
best
Yeah.
clothes possible,
Yeah.
borrowed those clothes or whatever, but she tried to make best for whatever she could do for Asen. And
Yeah.
similarly, if you see, I mean, both women and men is what I'm saying.
Mm,
Similarly, when Asen had her daughter, right, Kyung
yeah.
Young,
Yeah.
she was about to get married.
Mm,
Asen just laid all facts correctly. My daughter doesn't know how to cook, not she doesn't know the household chores. So there's no hiding, like,
mm,
whatever I did, do not expect that from my daughter. So I
yeah.
think there was a lot of breaking of barriers,
Barriers done.
and it also at the same time also showed up the struggles, irrespective of how much we try, the younger generation is struggling. So
Yes.
Isan
Yes.
struggled because of whatever reasons,
Yeah.
there were plenty of reasons, but then she did everything right for Gamyang, and she also struggled. There was a scene when she
Yeah.
comes back home because the work is just getting
Too
out of
much.
control, and
Yeah.
they're thinking that she's living a rich nice life, and
Mm.
she herself only knows her own
Own
struggles.
problem. That's so true.
So
Yeah.
basically the normalcy changes. Was she struggling to eat
Mm.
as her grandparents were? No.
No.
But your struggles change and your
Change with time.
expectations out of
Yes.
your change. So
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
at each layer there's a lot of burden that gets removed, for that matter,
Mm.
when her father, the boat episode that you said,
Yeah.
right, where
Yeah.
they call, or when her father turns back and to the table, to
Yeah. Yeah.
his family's dining table, and is like, you eat this, and I'll
Mm.
eat with you. So
Yeah.
I
Oh,
think
that's an
that's why
epic
it's
scene.
very
Yeah.
good.
That's an epic scene.
So
Why? she also, the voiceover beautifully describes how the father was having his own struggles and he was doing it all alone. He never had
Yeah.
any kind of support to, to help him get through the struggle. It was him,
Yeah.
his thoughts, and his ideologies. Three things which was helping him get through that struggle. He was the only like sole person who was breaking the barriers, then living with the broken barriers. And because I feel sometimes in life, it is, I know it is tough to break the barriers, but the repercussions of breaking the barriers are sometimes heavier than the actual barrier itself, because you never know how people would react to the barrier being broken, right? Let's take for an
Yeah.
example that boat episode. Nobody was there to judge her. Let's say 100 people were there. Maybe Asun herself would have, thought twice before breaking that barrier itself, because there are repercussions to breaking it. But here
Yeah, but
they
they
have,
did that
they
they
did.
did
That's
had
what.
they
That,
did have their own repercussions. If you
yeah.
remember
Hmm.
the scene where they ran away, right?
Ah, yes.
And then they were caught,
Yeah.
right? um, Irrespective of what happened or what not happened, her entire dream of being a poet gets goes away in that one
Yes.
scene. So
Yes.
she's, sort of suspended from school. She cannot go back to schooling. Basically, she cannot study further,
Hmm.
and therefore, she cannot do anything that she wanted in literacy.
Yeah.
So, there are repercussions, but I think the question is that which side of the coin
Hmm.
you are,
Hmm.
allowing to
Hmm.
shine.
Hmm.
So either you can sit with that replication, like if I can just give you a, twist around this,
Yeah.
right? She
Yeah.
could have been sitting and crying that, oh, my entire life is damaged because I wanted to do
Correct.
this. I
Correct.
can't do this.
Yeah.
I have given up so much to be with my husband. He is
Yeah.
fine. He was anyway not so bright, right? He could not make, but because of him, I cannot. So it's
Mm.
just question about are you ready to live with the consequences and
Yeah.
are you ready to accept and move
Yeah.
on?
I think that
So,
that is where this compassion and care is coming into the picture. The compassion and care which both Yang Wan-sik and Aesun, right, they had for each other. When
yeah.
Gumyong comes into their life, they're like, "Oh, now you won't be able to become a poet. I'm so sad for you." No, she also reciprocates and says, "No, now
Mm,
you won't be able to, swim that much. Are you
mm,
feeling sad?" No, no, no. We have this
mm.
beautiful gift. We are not sad. I'm not sad. And but
Yeah,
still, this is where I had even planned another point to discuss, right? Like how much Yang Singh values and treasures Aesum's dream more than she
yeah,
does it herself. And that is
yeah.
very important for uh, uh, that relationship to last this long. That's my thinking, my view, right?
Yeah,
To
no, I think both of them, as you rightfully said, both of them. If you remember,
mm,
then where do they get the boat from?
yeah,
Asun reaches out to,
yeah,
her grandmother, and she says that I need money, like we're done, and
yeah,
I need money so that I
yeah,
can buy a boat for my husband.
yeah,
And
yeah. That's so nice.
he always
Yeah.
he always wished to, go on the seas, and irrespective of how it's tough. So I think they had they had each other in their thoughts and
Yes.
all the time,
Yes.
irrespective. So they become part of their what do you call, nervous
Back of the mind.
system, or
Yes. Correct.
yeah, back of subconscious memory or whatever you
Correct.
call. They were very, but if you remember, even though that was there, they were not over dominating each other. They were giving each other space.
Mm,
Like if you
mm,
remember that when her child passed away, they had their own grieving mechanisms.
correct.
They
Oh, so
had their
true.
own,
Yes.
they had
Yes.
their own, if you remember the scene where, she goes to the grave
Mm,
year on year,
yes.
and later you realize that he
He's
also
also
comes, but
there.
after
Yes.
after she leaves. So he
Yeah.
doesn't want her to, either of them don't want to make each other feel, good or bad about it, but they
Yeah.
have their own ways. And
Yeah.
once they are in a better healed space, then they go together.
Yeah.
But prior to that, she goes and he goes, and her time, she took so much time to
Time to get over it. And
get over it. And he gave her that space, like
yeah.
he was doing everything that was needed. So I
Yeah.
think both of them were very much in sync, but they were not trying to dominate each other
Mm,
with their
their
own
own. Yes.
thoughts or decisions,
Yeah.
or
That's such a good
um
takeaway also for people watching, right? As you said in the beginning, this show is for all aged. people, like all age groups. For
Mhm.
people who are
Mm.
newly married, who are in relationship, who are not in a relationship, who are, aged, who are young, for all people, for all age group people. And this grieving mechanism is also important for some people, because sometimes I think we as people, or we as humans, right, we are so rigid, we have forgotten how to grieve. Right, not
Yeah,
forgotten, I would say we are, yeah, that's the word. We've forgotten how to grieve, and we feel that, and we don't give that much time to grieving, maybe
in
because we're
general,
occupied. So, and
yeah, in general, not only grieving, I think we've forgotten how to be vulnerable.
ah,
Like we don't want to be vulnerable,
yeah,
right?
true, true.
I think after watching this series, one of my friends, I was just telling her
Hmm.
that sometimes I actually wish like crying like Asen. When have you last cried? Like, you can just let go of
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
We
I
are
cry for
so
small things,
busy.
like she cries that you don't even know English, or you don't even
Yeah,
know
like
nostalgia.
she's
What
like
am I supposed to?
sobbing. You can actually
Yeah,
see her sobbing for things. And that's a mechanism of letting go.
yeah.
We are so busy holding it together all the time that
And
we've forgotten
especially
how
we
to
as
let
women, right?
go of everything.
We've been taught
Yeah.
to always pull it together, and yeah, that is there. There was a thought which I had. Now I'm not able to recollect, about this only. The episode where they lose their child, right? Not once I
Hmm.
have seen both of them blame each other. You know,
Yeah.
why did you
Yeah.
leave him alone? Not once I
Yeah.
see the male character come and say you should not have left. Now, I'm not telling it should come from the point of blaming, but even from the point of disappointment and disheartenment, he never says this word that,
Yeah.
why did you leave him alone? And I
Yeah.
feel when I see the scene, yeah, right, as end you end, uh, like people who are watching it, we will feel it like, why was she running? Like, why? So
Hmm.
we would feel that there is a differentiation between the children. Like she values Gumyong more than, the other two kids. But not once does he say that. And that is where the storyline comes, or the direction or the writing of that story comes, right? That they are so aware and so mature in their writing, and they don't
Hmm.
want characters to just have a dip, or uh, I mean, what I'm trying to say is that the characters are well
Yeah.
defined from the beginning. So
Well defined and learning.
yeah,
They're also evolving. But you are rightly, you said that, you know, although she was blaming herself,
yeah,
although he was blaming, but they were not blaming each other
each
because I
other,
think there was no question around the love for the child.
yeah.
So basically, and I trust me, I when I was watching this for the first time, I had never thought that the child would die.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
it
that's
was
it.
it was
I never
like
want
I
to
was
discuss
like
that episode. It's like,
I was like, yeah, it left me feeling so heavy around it. Like you can't, like just for a small thing, right? It was not such a big thing, and no, forget blaming each other. Nobody blamed Gumyong also
yes,
because of your carelessness, or
yes, yeah.
because you
She
didn't listen,
herself
or
was feeling, but nobody from. So
yeah.
this is where that important things comes, right? That sometimes even if you blame yourself,
Hmm.
it's very important that people don't blame you.
Yeah.
It adds on
Yeah.
to that, and then it creates an impression in your heart that you are the one supposed to be blamed if people around you start blaming.
I
And
think,
that is done
yeah,
so
I think
nicely
it
here.
comes from Yeah, it comes from that sense of maturity, right?
Yeah.
That it could have been anybody. So,
Yes.
with things like this, you can't, there is no control.
Yeah.
You can't control that, who left. It's just fate.
Yeah.
And it's in its weirdly odd forms, and
Unpredictable way. Yeah.
unpredictable ways. You can't predict that. But I think the way they got over it, and the
Beautifully.
community, my God,
Yes.
the
Yes.
community around them.
Yeah.
So I felt like so good, like how women are pulling other women,
Correct. Together.
out of together, and out helping them out of grief, or
Also, there's also a limit to how much a community can intervene, right? That also should
Mhm.
be laid out very clearly in the beginning itself. That, and they show that in the show also. None of the the community, right? They interfere with the family matters as such. They're there for them,
Yeah,
but in the intricate details and all, they don't come across those things. So it's
yeah,
nice that they show that they are there, but not too
Yeah,
much.
I
But
think people are so busy in their own household that they
yeah,
don't have enough
enough time
to,
to come and mingle
enough
middle.
time to
Yeah,
intrude into others' life.
that
However,
is true.
if need be, then, everybody
Is
was
there.
there, and,
Yeah. That was very good.
it's
That
good
you
to
say, as
see.
you said, the community, they were living in a rented house. The owners were so considerate. They used to get
Yeah.
fruits, get food for them, and then even
Hmm.
fill the rice, what do you call it? The container, right? The storage container.
Yeah.
Every time it
Huh.
was getting empty.
Till
So
the
all
end,
those,
when
yeah.
they get into this restaurant thing also,
Oh,
right?
yes.
It's a community.
Yeah.
So
So
how are you
nice it
running it
is. Oh
itself?
my God. Yeah.
So
Now that you've
it's
come to that part, I also remember how beautifully they show they are how they show the transition of the young Aeson, the mid-aged Aeson, and then the old Aeson, right? Not only
yeah,
Aeson, the other characters also evolve with her and how they get old. And
yeah,
there's one point which I wanted to touch base today was that your parents, right? I'm coming from Gumyong's perspective, are never going to get younger by the day. They're going to get
yeah,
older. And there's one scene,
yeah,
the hospital scene, right, where they come to know that the father is having or is diagnosed with cancer, and how she starts to blame that herself that I couldn't take care, and how she herself comes out of that telling that I have to accept it. Now that
yeah.
he is here, nothing can be done, and I have to accept the fact that. So that is another important thing, that we as children, right, sometimes it is tough for us to accept the fact that our parents are getting old, are not able to do the day to day activity as they used to do, and we just have to accept the fact and get over with it. Or I know you can never get over with it, you have to just live with it, right?
I
And
think I think the most important part is to give the best
mhm,
while you can.
yeah,
You never know what's going to happen next, what's going to, we have
yeah,
all had, how long do you want to stretch your bad days?
yeah.
How long do you want to
Oh, this is a
stretch your
nice thing.
bad conversations?
Yeah.
It's just dependent on and there's no rush because everybody's healing time is different. So,
Yeah.
there are so many people who have like this deathbed,
Hmm.
change of hearts, right?
Yeah.
So
True, true, true.
they were cribbing all their life. Now
Yeah.
suddenly they're dying. So,
So
they're
they
like,
realize.
why did I? So
Hmm.
question is, how much do you want to lose in life?
Hmm.
Now, you never know. So while her dad was unwell, and, while so they could see that there is, uh, a time now. Now there's a timer. Now
Yes.
either you can just, sit and be sad about it, or you can, make the best out of it. So I
Yeah.
think and
They
that comes
showed
from
that.
acceptance.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
showed that like accept and do that. And Gumyung's character itself has so much of evolution, right? Like losing her first love, and how I know, because it's very tough to make that decision when you know that the boy really loves you, right? And the boy is good for you. You love the boy with all the heart, but sometimes things don't work out, and you have to make that tough decision. And she made
Yeah.
that. Like
Yeah, I think
that is very
somewhere I
shocking to me.
feel
नहीं मतलब मैं
somewhere
नहीं
I
कर
think
पाती वो अगर मैं होती ना उसकी
ironically all their decisions sort of, just went in the right direction.
Hmm.
Or
Hmm.
perhaps another way to look at it is that when you throw a flashback to your own life,
Hmm.
you made certain decisions, right?
Yeah.
And therefore you are here. If in that age, would you go back and make another decision? I think no, because
Hmm.
those circumstances triggered that decision.
Yes,
And
yes.
therefore you don't know the future. Now looking back, you can say, yeah, maybe I would have
I would
done
have.
this, maybe
Yeah.
maybe I would have done that. But then you had no visibility into future. So I think,
Yes.
as and when life unfolds, because each of your decision has some reasoning to it, you're not
Yeah.
randomly making. I
Yeah.
think you can still connect the dots, and I think that's the most beautiful part of
Yeah.
that series, that I felt
Hmm.
that,
Hmm.
none of the people
Yeah.
none of the people
Uh-huh.
chose this life for themselves, right?
Yeah.
Asen's mother didn't choose to die,
Yeah.
or, so much of grief in her life, with her
Hmm.
dad passing away, with her mom passing away,
Yeah.
child passing away.
Yeah.
But she was able to,
Pick
move
herself up.
forward in
Yeah.
her life.
Yeah.
And
It.
it all circled back to the, the first and the last scene where she's calling out the names and then she calls out her mother.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, so nice.
right, it
Yes.
is so chilling, that scene where she's
Yeah.
like, Amma, Amma, and
Yeah.
she's just, you never feel that, you'll circle back to the fact
Where
that,
you started.
I wish I could, because those were the first arms to hold you. So maybe, when you are really old, you miss those arms and they're
Yeah.
not no longer there.
Yeah.
So
No,
it's
that is
just a
so
way.
true. Yeah. Now that I look back, that Asun has so much of, so many people, maybe she's special because, not maybe, she is special because so many people loved her unconditionally. Her mother, her husband, her kids, right? And this is where, even in the last episode, we were discussing that Yang Wan Sing makes sure that Asun feels special. And that is the reason
Think she
why,
feels, yeah, she feels special, and I think it's her it's her belief
yeah,
that in herself, that I want to do things differently.
yeah,
I want to do, like, in when she's very young, then only she's like, no, I'll become, I'll
I'll
lead
become this.
elections, I'll
Yeah,
do this,
yeah,
I'll earn money for you.
yeah.
And nobody mocked her beliefs.
Yes,
They
yes,
just allowed her beliefs to stay, even if it is happening, not happening, nobody cared about it. They
yeah,
were like, so I think that's very empowering, that
yeah,
as a child, if you
mm,
see, then we have so much of aspirations and all of that.
yeah,
And then the world, things sometimes don't go in our direction,
mm,
but we are questioned so many times,
yeah.
that we start questioning ourselves. She
Ourselves,
never
but she never
questioned
questioned. Yeah.
herself.
Maybe
So
because
I
of
think,
that, Yang Wan-sik actually liked her, and then the
yeah.
story unfolds, right? And she
So
has that affection
she
from
had
him
so much belief in
in
herself that
herself. Yeah.
others did believe in
Started
her.
believing. Yes.
So
Oh, so,
I
oh,
think,
this is a, right. Ultimately, I think that is what matters in life also, right? Sometimes, like today, I was just thinking over something, that how my insecurity and my need for perhaps validation has shaped my entire personality, right?
yeah,
And how important it is to believe in yourself, and sometimes just believe, that's it, even if the world is not believing, just. And that is so beautifully you said that Asun does that, and because of that, other people started believing her and
her
started
belief
loving her.
becomes special. So basically, her belief in herself becomes special, because
Yeah,
all everybody else can see is misery. We are going to, go
yeah.
down the sea, hunt,
Mm.
and this is all our generations can do and will be
Everybody will
doing.
doing, yeah, but she breaks that, and
So she
because of
breaks
her,
that.
the entire family, kind of comes up. Yeah, now
My God,
we
I'm
have
feeling like
two
I'll
minutes
have to
left.
watch this again just to
Ah,
relive
will you watch it
the
again,
entire
though?
series.
Now
I
I
I
feel
would
you would. Okay, now.
think so. Anybody in their right state of mind,
Mm,
right, would
mm.
not have cried even once
Yes.
watching this.
Yes,
So I
that's what I
think
was about.
unless you are a
You remember
completely,
the scene, right, where me, you, and Megha, we were watching it together. I was watching it for the
yeah,
first time, and I had tears here. Like, okay, oh my
yeah,
God, I
in the
can't cry
brim.
in front of them. It's
Imagine, see, that's what I'm saying about vulnerability, right?
yeah,
So basically, we don't cry at all, even if we are feeling so
yeah.
many things. I think
The first episode
the
itself, it was so
heavy,
emotionally heavy. Yes, and I felt
yeah.
like, oh my, what is this series? And
And ultimately,
uh,
you're rooting for them. You're rooting
yeah,
for,
yeah, the
somewhere everybody
characters. It was
finds
very
an
beautifully
association.
written. Oh my God. And then later
Yeah.
I started watching two, three other series, and I liked some of them. Like My Liberation Notes is one of it. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
perhaps we should all watch it together sometime. But that was also very
Possibly.
similar to, not similar to this. The baseline was similar, that they introspect their own thoughts and they
Yeah.
work on that,
No,
right?
but I would just say that, for anybody who's not watched this,
Yeah.
should at least attempt to watch and just get past the second episode. Then you'll be hooked.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. The first
don't give
episode
up
is
in
a
the first
little
episode.
confusing here and
Yeah.
there, because the language is different, and to catch with the subtitles and with the emotions, it becomes a little too much of work. But
Yeah.
once you are past that, as you said, second episode, the third, fourth, the Midsummer Night's Dream is like, it's a happy episode. So if you want something happy, you can watch that.
Of
But
course.
other things are, every scene is epic. Every scene, we don't have time left, but then I
Mm.
had few more other questions. We will catch up on that. But every scene is epic, and the series itself is epic. So